What if the reason why you're drawn to bad boys is not because they're edgy? What if the reason why you're actually attracted to bad boys is not because they're charismatic? What if the reason why you keep attracting bad partners is not actually due to bad luck? And what if the reason why this is happening is actually due to a subconscious pattern that is actually playing out? A subconscious pattern that is making you be attracted to these guys. What if that's the reason? And what if you could actually change this pattern so that you're no longer attracted to these guys? How would that affect your love life? How would it affect the partners that you end up drawing in? The people you end up going for? What if you could start going for good partners if you could let go of this pattern? Now, in this video, that's exactly what I'm going to be going through. Why you actually end up being attracted to the bad boy. Why you end up being attracted to partners who aren't good for you. Like, what is actually going on underneath the surface? What is this subconscious pattern that is playing out? And what you can actually start to do about it. But before we jump in, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel because it really helps support the channel. Now, when it comes to the bad boy, there's often the guy who's often very charismatic, can be quite edgy, often very rebellious as well. So he has something about him where he doesn't really follow the rules a lot of the time. And he kind of goes against the norm a lot of the time. And usually has a lot of social confidence. He's that socially confident guy. And that's often the guy that a lot of women end up being drawn to. That kind of bad boy kind of type. It's that vibe, that kind of edgy vibe, that mysterious vibe where a lot of the attraction is. That's the guy a lot of women naturally find themselves drawn to. However, the big problem with this guy is he doesn't make a good relationship partner. So because of a lot of the traits the bad boy has, when it comes to a relationship, there's a lot of problems that he ends up bringing. So usually a lot of bad boys, they have a lot of rage issue, they can't be very consistent, or they're not very committal. They end up having problems with loyalty and trust, all these issues which don't make a good relationship partner. And it's why for a lot of women who actually have this type of going for the bad boy, they usually end up having quite bad experiences with him. Over and over again, it's always these guys who don't treat them right. And obviously when you have this type of being attracted to the bad boy, that's naturally what you end up being drawn to. They know this guy is not the best type, he's not good for me, but they just naturally find themselves gravitating towards them. It's like something is pulling them towards that direction. So even though the guy is not good for her, I'm naturally just drawn to that person. Again, this is something you might have found yourself doing as well. So there's something actually operating here that is making us be drawn to this person, even though consciously we know they're not the right type for us. We know they're not a good relationship pick, a good partner. So then what often ends up happening here for a lot of women is then they end up a little bit in a bit of a dilemma. So they know the bad boy isn't good for them, so they try to go for partners who are good for them. And it will usually be partners who aren't their type now. For example, the good guy, or even the nice guy. And the problem with those guys is there's not any attraction there. So even though the person, more and again on a conscious level, on a logical level, they have good traits that I would want in a partner. Now, the good guy is very trustworthy, he's very loyal, he's very consistent, he treats me right, he's got good values. But the problem is there's no attraction there. Even though he's like that, I don't feel no spark. I don't feel no draw to him. And we kind of need that. Like, we need that in a relationship. Without the spark, without attraction, there's not going to be much romance in the relationship. The love is not really going to develop. There's not much intimacy there. Like, it's going to be a struggle without that. And this is what a lot of women find themselves kind of stuck in, the dilemma that they end up being stuck in. Which guy do I now go for? Because option A is the bad boy, where there's a lot of attraction there, but he's not a good partner long term. And if I actually go for him, usually I end up getting burned by him. I usually end up getting into some kind of emotional turmoil with him because the guy doesn't have good traits. But there's like high sexual attraction with that guy. And then option 2 is, okay, then maybe I should go for this guy. Okay, he's a good guy, he's got good values, he will treat me right, but there's no attraction there. Attraction is like dead. So it's like we have to kind of give up something in order to go for one of these options. Do I either go for this guy where I will have attraction, but there'll be other problems, or this guy where I will have good relationship stuff there, but there'll be a lot of problems because there's no attraction, there's no spark. And I've even heard like a lot of women, they make that joke, if I could cut like half of this guy and cut half of that guy and, glue them together, then I'd have the perfect man. I'd have the perfect partner. Because both of them have things that I need, but each of them also have things that I don't want. So what do I do? Like, it's a common dilemma a lot of women find themselves in. Which one do I go for? Because both of them are kind of bad. But as I mentioned at the start, that's not actually a dilemma you should have to be in. You shouldn't have to be in that position where I either pick this guy who's not good for me, or this guy who's also kind of not good for me. Naturally, how we should be operating is we should be able to go for a good partner, and there should be attraction there. You should actually be attracted to the good guy, the guy who treats me right, and there should actually be sexual attraction with that guy. There should be a spark with him. There should be chemistry there. And often what is happening is the reason why we can't actually get a spark with that guy, like why you can't get a spark with the good guy, is because something is actually blocking that attraction. There's actually a subconscious block. Like I said, there's a subconscious pattern which is preventing attraction from developing with this guy, or having actually attraction with this guy. And instead the draw continues to go to the bad boy, to the guy who's not good for me, the guy who I know, again, I'm not going to have the best results with if I go down that direction. There's something there that's actually stopping that. So this is often one of the big dilemmas a lot of women find themselves in. Which one do I pick? And I'm kind of stuck. Like, I have to give up something to go for someone. They either give up something to go for this guy, or I have to give up something to go for this guy. Both end up being problematic. So why is this actually happening? So what is this unconscious pattern that is actually playing out? Why is there attraction to this guy who's clearly, again, on more of the conscious level, who's clearly not a good pick? Because for a lot of women, when they actually go for this guy, especially when you've got like a habit and you've got a pattern for going for this guy, you kind of know, and you kind of feel a little bit that, I know he's not the right choice. But it's something like, so something drives you to still pursue that guy. It's like something kind of takes over. But even though at the back of the mind, like, okay, I know this guy's not a good guy. And it's usually when everything falls apart, then things start to become more clear. Like the red flags, you start to actually notice them. It's only at the end of the relationship, at the end of the kind of dating with this guy, then everything becomes clear. Oh yeah, I saw he was, he wasn't very trustworthy from the start. There were these red flags that I didn't notice before, but now I can see them. And that usually gets blocked out because this subconscious pattern is here. And what this subconscious pattern basically is, it is basically need seeking for our inner child. So when it comes to being drawn to the bad boy, it comes from our inner child trying to seek a need from them. Our inner child actually wants something from that bad boy. And basically what this is it's essentially a wounded attraction. So the attraction to the bad boy is not a healthy attraction. It's instead coming from a wounded place. So it's because our inner child actually carries wounds that actually creates the sexual attraction towards the bad boy. It creates the spark with the bad boy. Because what actually happens here is, for our inner child, when they are wounded, and when your inner child carries wounds, they are always trying to seek resolution of these wounds. Because by trying to get the things from other people to heal these wounds, it allows them to feel whole and complete. And subconsciously, what our inner child wants, they want that wholeness, they want that completeness, they want to feel full. And in order to do that, it often requires getting their needs met from someone. This is where the need seeking starts to come in. So for example, for my inner child, for me, one of the need seeking was to get warmth from women. Because how it was for me with my bio parents, with my bio mum, I never really got that from her. Instead, there was a lot of coldness in our relationship. So my inner child was trying to seek out warmth from other women. And the reason I was seeking that out is because my inner child needed that to feel whole and complete. And again, it would lead to that wounded attraction where I end up attracting women who were quite cold and distant. That would be where the natural draw was. And the reason why there's that natural draw there is because my inner child wants that need from them. I want warmth from the cold, distant woman because that is where the wound is. That is where what has essentially created the wound. And that need from them, getting warmth from that woman, will actually heal this wound. It will make my inner child feel whole and complete. Because that's the thing they missed out on growing up. With my bio mum, I never got that. So as a result, that is what my inner child is seeking. I'm seeking that need out from them in order to become whole and complete. That's essentially how things used to play out for me. And it's why I would naturally start being attracted and drawn to these type of women. Like, again, the women that are quite cold, the women that are quite distant. It's hard to get love from them. Those are the women I would naturally find myself being drawn to. And with those women, there would be strong attraction there. Because the attraction, it comes from more of the inner child. My inner child actually wants that need from them. And the more in the adult self, then that starts to become more kind of sexualized. And then the draw starts coming from there. But essentially the stem comes from our inner child. So here when it comes to why you're drawn to the bad boy, the real reason why you're actually drawn to them is because there's a wound with your inner child. That little girl deep inside, there is a wound there, which is then causing the attraction to the bad boy. Because what's actually happening is she is actually seeking something from that bad boy. There's something in that bad boy, something that he can offer that will actually heal this wound. And that's where the attraction is. That's why I need to go for the bad boy. That's why I want the bad boy, because you have something that I need to essentially make my inner child whole. And this is why when you try to go for the good guy, the attraction isn't really there. There's no attraction there because that good guy, even though he's a good guy, again, on more of the adult self, on the conscious level, you know he's a good guy. You know you can have a decent life with him, but there's no attraction there because he doesn't have what my inner child needs. My inner child only can get that thing essentially from this guy, from the bad boy. And that's why you find yourself constantly being drawn to the bad boy. Now, over and over again, even if it comes to loads of different partners, they're always quite similar in that way. Because again, all those partners, they all have the same thing that your inner child is seeking. I'm seeking love from this distant guy. I'm seeking validation from a guy with anger issues. Because it kind of mirrors what the wound is, what the wound that was created. So this is why you end up being drawn constantly to the bad boy. Why it's not really luck as to why you keep, like bad luck, why you keep finding these guys. It's more to do with the wound. And for a lot of people when they hear about this stuff, they think it's because they're a bad person or there's something bad in them as to why they keep attracting these situations. And it's not that you're a bad person, it's not that you've got something bad in you, it's just more because of the wound. The wound itself, it kind of generates energy. And that energy that you give off, it naturally attracts people on the opposite side. Because the wound is kind of, again, it's carrying a lot of pain there, you naturally attract someone who mirrors that. You can kind of match on that level to heal that wound. So here when it comes to, again, the bad boy, the reason you're being attracted to these guys, you're drawn to these guys, there's a strong pull there, is because the wound is operating. The wound is giving off that energy, and again, that's matching theirs, and it's kind of connecting on that level. So this is essentially what ends up happening here. When you are actually carrying one of these inner child wounds, and here when it comes to the bad boy, it's usually a parental wound. It's a wound from, for a lot of women, it will be a wound from the father, from your bio dad, and that's actually created this inner child wound. And then it manifests as now coming and seeking out those needs from the bad boy. I need to get love from the bad boy to make up for the lack of love with my father. That's essentially what ends up happening here. And again, it starts to become sexualized, and that's why there's that big draw to the bad boy. Why there's that attraction to the bad boy. Now that being said, because this comes from a wound and it's wounded attraction, it means you can actually heal it. So it's not something that you're stuck with, it's not just bad luck, it's something that you can actually heal. And what happens a lot of the time when you actually heal this wound, when you start to make your inner child feel whole and complete, this is what then changes the attraction. Attraction, a lot of the time, it can be changed. Again, especially when it's something like this, like wounded attraction, it can be completely changed because it's coming from a wound, essentially. It's coming from that lack in your inner child. Because your inner child essentially needs something from this person, that's why you're attracted to them. I need something from the bad boy, so I need to enter a relationship with them or pursue them to try and get that need met, in the hopes that my inner child will actually become whole and complete, and then I'll feel whole and complete. Like, that's what's actually operating. But when you start to actually heal your inner child in a way where you actually start giving this stuff to yourself, then that attraction naturally fades. There's no more actual attraction to the bad boy, because now my inner child no longer needs what they have. I don't need anything from them because I've given that to my inner child. So naturally, there's no attraction there. There's no more draw there. And like I said, the attraction fades. Even our energy, our vibe starts to change because now I no longer have that wound. That wound is no longer resonating there. So therefore, when it comes to actually changing your attraction, no longer being drawn to the bad boy, that's something that will naturally start to happen. And again, it's a genuine fading of the attraction. So there's no attraction there, like nothing there. It's kind of like when that starts to happen, instead you start to see more of the red flags. Because now things start to become clear. Again, I'm no longer clouded by my inner child seeking out that thing from this guy. So now I can actually see the red flags. I can see the issues with this guy. And that starts to become more of the forefront. And then what also starts happening is when it comes to the good guy, there starts to become attraction there. So things start to become unblocked. So now, not only have I lost attraction for the bad boy, I no longer need that, it opens up attraction to the good guy. Because now the good guy, it kind of mirrors and resonates what my inner child feels. My inner child feels whole and complete. They feel like they're worthy of love. They feel like they're worthy of validation from a good person. So naturally, that's why I actually feel attraction for that good person. For the good guy, the guy who's got good values. Not only will he treat me good now, will he treat me right, there's actual attraction there. There's actual genuine attraction to the stage where it's kind of like he has the whole package now. So I don't need to go for the bad boy. I don't need to get disappointed again. I don't need to lose like all my shine, all my sparkle, get heartbroken again, because I don't need to go for that guy. Like there's nothing I need from him. And instead I start to see red flags from him instead. So this is what starts to happen when it comes to actually healing the wound and healing your inner child wound. Because all this attraction, all this draw is coming from that lack from your inner child. It's because your inner child is missing those parts. That's why the attraction is there. That's why they're seeking out the bad boy. And if it fails with this bad boy, we'll seek out another bad boy or another guy who's not good for us. And the pattern will continue until our inner child can feel like they're whole and complete by getting what they need from this guy. Often what happens, you don't actually get that. So the cycle just ends up repeating and repeating, until like eventually we can't take it anymore. Okay, so this is often the area you need to work on to now actually stop attracting the bad boy. You need to work on it more on the inner child level and more on the actual wound with your inner child. Because again, that is what is carrying all the draw to this guy. It's carrying all the attraction to these people. Now with this, if you want to learn how to do it in a more step-by-step approach and exactly how to heal the wound in more of a walkthrough guided approach, then don't forget to click the link down below and join the waiting list for my membership site. Because in that membership site, I'm going to have a full course on how to actually heal this wound, because this wound is more of that parental wound. It's the wounds that have come from the parental figures, which is actually causing this to actually play out then in romantic relationships. So if you're interested in that and you want to take this a little bit further, then don't forget to click that link below, join the waiting list, and you'll be notified as soon as the membership comes live. Okay, but just here for now, hopefully you're starting to get the understanding as to why this attraction is there. Why again on a logical level, this person is not really good for me, but yet I still find myself being drawn to them. It's because of the inner child wound. It's because the inner child need seeking, that's drawing me to this guy and pushing me to seek this guy out and pursue this guy. Or when he shows interest, I'm fully open to it. And you see, with this, one of the things to understand is to truly actually no longer be attracted to this guy, like genuinely no attraction, no feelings, you have to deal with it on the inner child level. You have to actually deal with the wound. Because a big mistake a lot of people do with this is then they try to, like, even like a lot of guys as well, they try to make themselves be like put off by this person. You know, for a lot of women, it's like they try to get icked out by the guy. Like they look at some of his behavior and try to make themselves give themselves the ick. Like, this guy doesn't have morals. Like, this guy doesn't even treat people nicely. Like, ick. Like they try to do like they try to go about it that way. But what happens here is, even though you're trying to get icked out by this guy, the inner child is not icked out. The inner child deeply yearns that. So even though you're trying to like push the guy away in this way, there's still that pull there. There's still that draw to this guy. And this is why what happens for a lot of women when they try to push this guy away is actually just leading to more suppression. They try to suppress that attraction for him, but the attraction is still there. But it's not like I fully let go of it. Because again, to fully let go of it, our inner child needs that stuff to feel whole. Only once they start to feel whole, then the attraction fully goes. It's like a genuine release. Because again, I don't need that. I don't need, like, again, if you have £1 million, you don't need to go to this person to get 10, 15 pound. You don't need that. I don't need that. I've got £1 million. But that's the kind of vibe it ends up creating. So that's one thing to understand here. To really let go of this genuinely and to fully, like, completely let go of it, you need to heal it on the inner child level. You need to go down to that level and actually deal with the wound. But one of the good things about inner child healing is it's not actually complicated to do, and it's not often very traumatic. Okay, it's more just actually dealing with the inner child and giving them what they need. And when you can start to do that, you naturally start to heal this wound. So hopefully now you've got more insight as to what pattern is actually playing out here. What pattern is actually operating as to why you end up keep being attracted to the bad boy. Why you keep being drawn to that guy, or you have a pattern of keep finding guys that aren't good for you. It's often because there's an inner child wound here. Like I said, this wound in particular is more of a parental wound. It's usually some wound with the bio dad, or for guys, it's usually bio mum. But for you in particular, it's usually a wound with the bio dad. So something you kind of lacked in that relationship with him growing up, that is now manifesting in your romantic relationships. In the people you pick, the partners you're naturally drawn to, it starts manifesting in that area. This is just kind of how the way it works. What you want to start doing is just start building more awareness again as to what your inner child is seeking out from these guys. So what is it about these edgy guys? What is it about these like rebellious guys, or again like really charismatic guys, that your inner child really wants? What is that little girl actually yearning for? Like doing that, having more awareness, then it will kind of get you down the route of understanding what your inner child actually needs now. What is the missing piece that your inner child is actually seeking that needs to now be given to her? Because when she starts to get that, again, the attraction towards that guy, it will start to fade. And again, you'll naturally start being attracted to guys who are good for you and who can actually start to treat you right. So again, you can stop actually attracting these guys. And you can start attracting good partners and actually start improving your love life. Okay guys, but that being said, that's kind of it for this video today. And don't forget to click that link below and join the membership site. Again, if you want to take this a little bit further and you actually want to get to the root of this and heal this wound. So you can completely change who you attract, stop attracting these guys, and you start attracting good, healthy partners. Because even with a lot of this stuff, it works on an energetic level. So energetically, when you start resonating stuff that is actually good for you, you start attracting things that are good for you. So again, if you want to learn more about that, don't forget to hit that link below, join the waiting list, and you'll get notified as soon as the courses start coming out and the membership goes live. But anyway, that's it for me for this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.